What is going on, guys? Every sports league has a set of rules that all players must follow, with no exceptions. These are fair rules that ensure fair play, good sportsmanship, and proper behavior before, during, and after the game. But there are also some very odd and specific rules that teams and players have had to follow over the years, whether it's something to do with their weight, diet, physical appearance, or whatever else. These odd rules have somehow found their way into the policy guidelines for certain sports clubs. Here's a look at 14 weird rules that teams enforce on their players. Number 14, Team England. No Starbucks for you. The English men's national soccer team disappointed on the international stage for so many years. But manager Gareth Southgate established a whole new culture for the 2018 World Cup tournament in Russia. And it worked beautifully. After decades of shortcomings, Southgate helped England reach the Final Four, eventually falling to Croatia in the semi-finals. They would end up finishing 4th overall in the tournament, their best finish at the World Cup since 1990. So what was the trick? Well, Southgate's tactics and strategies were obviously part of it. He also disallowed his players from consuming Starbucks during the tournament. Yeah, we're serious. The Starbucks staff at the hotel were told not to serve any food while the English players were staying there. Sandwiches and muffins were barred. Only tea, coffee, and bottled water were permitted. I mean, it's a weird rule, but it kind of worked. And also, if you think Starbucks, you're probably going to think coffee, but I guess it was just food. Still technically Starbucks. It worked. I don't know. Number 13, Ohio State football. Don't say Michigan. The Ohio State Buckeyes and Michigan Wolverines make up one of the most iconic rivalries in American sports, one that began over 120 years ago. The rivalry is so heated that the Buckeyes have a rule in place where they are not allowed to mention the M word, which is Michigan. During a 2019 interview on The Rich Eisen Show, Buckeyes head coach Ryan Day stated that he never utters Michigan. Instead, Ohio State will refer to their arch rivals as Ann Arbor, the Blue Team, or the Wolverines. In one instance, Brandon Bowen of the Buckeyes pulled off the big no-no by saying the word Michigan. He said it in front of the head coach, Urban Meyer. Bowen was ordered to do push-ups as a minor punishment. Former Buckeyes defensive tackle Jashawn Cornell also said that they refer to Michigan as the team up north. So you can't say Michigan at all there. No ifs, ands, or buts. Number 12, John Lackey's injury clause. The Boston Red Sox signed former LA Angels ace John Lackey to a mega 5-year deal worth $82.5 million in the 2009 offseason. However, they were a little bit worried about his elbow injury woes. So the front office added a clause that outlined if Lackey missed an entire year because of an injury, Boston would have a team option at the end of his deal for the league minimum. Lackey underwent Tommy John surgery and missed the entire 2012 season. The Red Sox eventually traded him to the St. Louis Cardinals in 2014, where he performed nicely. As a result, the Cards decided to pick up the option that Boston tacked on, giving them a reliable pitcher at the league minimum. The Cardinals did end up doing the honorable thing by adding bonuses into Lackey's contract for the 2015 season. Number 11, Sebastian Coates. No red boots allowed. In 2016, former Liverpool FC and Sunderland star centre-back Sebastian Coates was loaned to Sporting CP club of the Portuguese Primeira Liga. This was no routine transaction, however. Sporting CP added a condition in the contract that barred Coates from wearing red boots. The reason? Red is the main color of their heated rivals, Benfica. There's plenty of other nice colors to choose from. Number 10, Denver Broncos. Fart tax. Passing gas is, part of being a human. We all know that. People have to make a big deal out of it, even though it's a natural function. Good thing none of us played for the 2015 Denver Broncos, because they went great lengths to ban farting at team facilities. In the offseason, Von Miller admitted to reporters that the team had a fart tax. Yeah, that's right, a fart tax, where players would get fined if they let it rip during meetings. The perennial Pro Bowl pass rusher also admitted he probably racked up the most fart fines. Attaboy, Von. If you can afford it, then fart it. Number 9, Dez Bryant's curfew and conditions. Former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant did a lot of good on the field, but the 3-time Pro Bowler had a handful of legal incidents off the field. In order to keep Bryant disciplined and focused, owner Jerry Jones put together a set of rules that number 88 had to follow. Bryant was assigned a midnight curfew, and if he needed to break it, Cowboys officials had to receive a warning ahead of time. Bryant was also barred from drinking alcohol and was only permitted to enter nightclubs if the team allowed it. And and if a security team accompanied him. On top of that, Bryant had to attend 2 counseling meetings per week. He also required at least 1 security member with him at all times, and they would drive him to the games and practices. Bryant was eventually able to clean up his act off the field, and he was instrumental in helping the Cowboys win the NFC East Division crown in the 2014 and 2016 seasons. Teams with other troubled players should take note of the Cowboys' plan with Bryant. Maybe it could work for them too. Number 8, Ray Slim Caldwell. Getting drunk clause. Former New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, and Cleveland Indians pitcher Ray Slim Caldwell had well-documented drinking and behavioral issues during his career. Indians manager Tris Speaker valued Caldwell's talents, so he added a clause in Caldwell's contract that legitimately required him to get drunk after every game he pitched. It required him to get drunk. Yeah, legend has it that Caldwell informed Speaker about the language in the contract, that it should say that he is not to get drunk. But nope, Speaker encouraged him to drink. And no, this is not a joke. It's not a joke. Here's how it worked. Caldwell would get drunk after the game. The following day, he'd stay home and away from the clubhouse. The day after, he'd show up and run around the park. On the third day, he would perform pitching duties at batting practice. On day 4, Caldwell would pitch again. Well, Speaker's plan for Caldwell worked out perfectly, because he wound up leading the Indians to a World Series championship in 1920. That's crazy. Like, yo, oh, it's so nuts. That's like that Yankees pitcher that went out with Jimmy Fallon the night before, got bombed, and was still drunk at 6 a.m., and then went to a game early that next morning and pitched a no-hitter. That's a true story. I forgot his name. Athletes are crazy. Number 7, Eddie Lacy's weight loss incentives. Lacy got off to a scorching start with the Green Bay Packers, winning the 2013 Offensive Rookie of the Year award after rushing for 1,178 yards and 11 touchdowns. Lacy hit the 1,000-yard mark again in 2014, helping the Packers reach the 2014 NFC Championship game. He certainly looked poised for a great career in Titletown, but Lacy put on a noticeable amount of weight in the 2015 season, and he was predictably much slower and less effective. That led to the end of his short tenure with the Packers, who decided not to bring him back after the 2016 campaign. The Seattle Seahawks signed Lacy in the 2017 offseason, but they wanted to make sure that the former Pro Bowler stayed in shape. So they added incentives in Lacy's contract that would see him take home an additional $55,000 for every month he hit a specific weight. For May, it was 255 pounds. June and August were 250 pounds. And September to December was 245 pounds. Though Lacy successfully hit those numbers early in the offseason to take home the extra pay, he unfortunately didn't produce much in Seattle. Lacy finished the 2017 season, his last in the NFL, with 179 rushing yards on 69 carries with no touchdowns. Number 6, Dontari Poe's weight clause. Lacy isn't the only recent NFL player to receive a weight-related clause. In the 2017 offseason, veteran Pro Bowl nose tackle Dontari Poe signed a 1-year contract with the defending NFC champion Atlanta Falcons. But GM Thomas Dimitroff and the coaching staff went great lengths to ensure that Poe kept the weight in order. Poe's 1-year pact was worth $8 million, but it included a $500,000 bonus if he hit a certain weight and kept it that way. Pretty much the same as Lacy, except he got like $500,000, not 50. Unless you add those 50s up for Lacy, I don't do math. I'm a YouTuber. Pro Football Talk speculated that the weight was set at 330 pounds. A year later, Poe signed a 3-year contract worth $27 million with the Carolina Panthers. They also added a $500,000 bonus for each year he met a mandatory weight, with 4 weigh-ins each year. At the time, Poe stated that his weight ranged from 335 to 340 pounds. But for an extra $500,000, I'm sure he could find it in himself to trim down another 5 or so pounds. Number 5, Manchester City's pizza ban. The most successful sports teams are usually the most authoritative and disciplined. Take Manchester City, for example. They're one of the most consistently dominant soccer teams in the world, having won the EPL crown in 2012, 14, 2018, and 2019. A lot of that success is obviously credited to their manager, Pep. Even though his teams are pure winners, Pep isn't the most fun guy to play for. After joining Man City in 2016, Pep banned his players from eating pizza. He also warned his players that if they show up overweight, they will not be allowed to train with the team. This is just part of Pep's delicate yet intense coaching strategy that puts an emphasis on top-level training and stamina. On paper, anybody who plays with Manchester City has a great life. But no pizza? That kind of sucks. I'm sure many of you would rather eat pizza than make millions playing soccer. Yeah. No, I'd definitely take the money. Number 4. Rube Waddell. No more animal crackers. Baseball Hall of Famer Rube Waddell was one of the greatest pitchers of the 1900s. He racked up 139 wins and 2,316 strikeouts. Waddell captured the Triple Crown in 1905, having led the AL in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. Waddell was one of the brighter characters during his playing days, but he quickly got on the nerves of his teammate and roommate Ossie. Waddell enjoyed snacking on animal crackers before bedtime, and this drove Ossie crazy. The latter would wake up with crumbs in his bed, and he could not handle it anymore. So apparently, Ossie approached manager Connie Mack, who agreed to add a clause in Waddell's contract that actually disallowed him from eating animal crackers in bed. Nice. Other than that, all accounts suggest that Waddell and Ossie got along very well. Number 3. Oklahoma Sooners. Pastagate. The NCAA has very strict and controversial rules that all athletes have to follow. You know, no accepting benefits, blah blah blah, you know, the whole thing. Sorry, but sometimes things are taken a little bit too far. The Oklahoma newspaper reported that on May 10th, 2013, a trio of Sooner athletes consumed more food than what was apparently acceptable at an all-you-can-eat graduation banquet. This is no joke. The 3 athletes had to pay $3.83 to a charity of their choices in order to be reinstated. Apparently each pasta serving cost $3.83. However, an NCAA spokesperson said that they don't have any rules that specifically relate to food portion sizes. It was just the school making up their own strict rule. Number 2, Mario Balotelli's good behavior clause. You guys like that Italian accent? Yeah, didn't even try. It's in my blood. Italian striker Mario Balotelli will go down as one of the greatest soccer players of his generation, as well as one of the most polarizing. As great as this guy is on the pitch, he certainly hasn't come without controversy. Balotelli has had well-documented attitude problems throughout his career, thanks in large part to his inability to contain his temper and behavior on social media. He joined Liverpool for the 2014-15 season, but he struggled mightily to the point where they were desperate to get rid of him. Luckily for Liverpool, AC Milan was happy to bring him back, but he had to agree to a good behavior policy as part of his contract. The clause put a ban on his signature extravagant haircuts and clothing. He was also not allowed to visit nightclubs nor smoke cigarettes. There were limits on alcohol consumption, and AC Milan was to monitor his social media activity. Well, whatever it takes, I guess. Number 1. New York Yankees. The hair policy. It is by far the most well-known enforced team rule in any sport. Beginning with the George Steinbrenner ownership regime, the Yankees have enforced a rule that disallows players from growing long hair and beards. The only facial hair permitted is a mustache. No exceptions. Former Yankees star Don Mattingly was once benched for refusing to cut his long hair. Mattingly and the hair policy was even featured in a 1992 Simpsons episode. Homer at bat.
Mattingly, get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie. Mattingly, I thought I told you to trim those sideburns. Go home. You're off the team.
The official Yankees rule reads as follows. All players, coaches, and male executives are forbidden to display any facial hair other than mustaches except for religious reasons. And scalp hair may not be grown below the collar. Long sideburns and mutton chops are not specifically banned. Johnny Damon and Garrett Cole sure looked a whole lot different when they changed their looks after signing with the Yankees. Many more to come too, because the team clearly isn't about to scrap this rule. What other weird rules are enforced on players by specific teams? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, we are on everything. TikTok, TPS posts great memes. I post videos, Instagrams, the whole thing, whatever. Go follow us, go subscribe to the whole thing. Subscribe to TPS on YouTube because, well, we post videos every day. Why would you not want to? And if you like this video, give it a like. It takes one click. Also down below next to that subscribe button, which you should have clicked right now if you haven't already. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
My knee.